we did a big tour, like our first full U.S. tour. It was us, and it got really quiet in here.
This entire episode is going to have its own soundtrack.
It's going to be awesome.
So, I suck with the intro. Do you want to introduce yourself? Or
have we begun?
We've begun. Well, this will be the very...
Okay. Yeah, I'll let you go.
Okay. So we are in a bar. What part of the neighborhood are we in right now?
It's actually... Well, the neighborhood's technically Francisville.
So we're in Francisville, Philadelphia, a Saturday afternoon, and we have John Galm with me here in the back of this bar.
Yep.
Thank you. Thanks for serious.
Oh, yeah.
It's really super cool. But I wanted to get in eventually, maybe talk about Snowing and Street Smart. But first,
sure.
You just put out a solo record that
I did.
Is really awesome, and I thought we'll begin there.
Okay. What do you want to know?
Well, I saw like 6 months ago, you put out like a super lo-fi demo of a couple of those songs, right? A while ago.
Did I? I might have.
A couple of them, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like the first tune.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I got that one done. I was like in the process of making the record, and I was so excited that I got that song done that I was just like, I'm just going to put it online.
Put it out.
Yeah.
How long have you been working on that batch of tunes?
Well, I guess. So, it had been, what year is it now? It's 2016? So, in May of 2015, I moved back to Philly, which this is the third time I've lived here now. And after I moved here, I really wanted to, like, play. And I just sort of was like kicking around a couple ideas, and then I had my friends Melissa, who plays drums in this great band called Marge. I'm just plugging Marge right now. They have a record coming out on Salinas. It's really great. And my friend Josh, who's in that band The World Is a Beautiful Place, and just wanted to like jam with them because, like, you know, for fun. So I just started writing these songs, and this was like summer last year, like summer 2015.
Okay.
And yeah, so I've been working on it since then. So like started writing these songs, and like they were really vibing well, and they were like kind of coming nicely. And then everyone was too busy, so we had to stop doing the band. And then after like a good 3 months of nothing, I just was like, oh wait, I could just record these songs. Like I could, like, because they were all stuff that I was writing.
Yeah, by yourself.
Yeah, so it was like, I could just do this. This can be a record. It just sort of like hit me one day. I was like, okay, well, and then it went from there. So yeah.
Did you?
Go ahead.
Did you record it all by yourself? Did you go to a studio?
We did everything in my house. I live in a 3-story house.
Here.
Yeah, I have 4 other roommates, just up the street from here, and my roommate Dave is like he does some recording, and he's pretty good. He's got a very good ear, so I pretty much I've always wanted to do like a sort of like my own stuff. I've never recorded before, like my own stuff before,
mm-hmm.
and I still don't really know what I'm doing when I do it, but he helped me got my buddy Sean to play drums, and we got snowed in during the only snowstorm last year, and Sean did all the drums in like 2 days, which was great. And Dave helped us, like he did all the miking and all the recording of the drum stuff, and then he basically showed me how to use like the most basic plugins, like for like an Alesis plugin. You know?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, like a direct inbox.
So you
and things
mixed
like
it
that.
all in your house and everything?
Yeah.
It sounds good. I like it a lot.
Oh,
how
thank
it
you.
Sounds.
Yeah. I mean, it was all, so Dave showed me how to do that. I did a couple things with him, like main acoustic tracks I did with Dave in his room, but then I just took the box up to my room and did pretty much the rest of it.
I'm wondering, like, how did you decide where you were going with what you wanted it to sound like? Because it's not like a genre thing. Or, like, I feel like you're associated with a certain kind of genre, and then
Yeah.
it's not that at all.
Well, I mean, truth be told, I don't really like gel well with that genre.
Sure. Yeah,
We're talking about emo, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really I feel like I was more of like for me with like the emo stuff, it was more like right place, right time. Like all my friends were into it, and of course you want to be in a band with your friends, so. And then it just kept going. Like, it just kept going and going and going.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah.
So it's not like you wanted to get out of it. It's just you.
No,
that
no.
was natural for
Not
you
at
to
all.
make it,
Yeah. No. Nothing against emo. Just like when I was like sitting writing songs, it was like these were the songs I was writing. And I've always wanted to like make. I kind of like it's like the record I've wanted to make for my like whole first part of my adult life, where it's like. In my house, it's crackly. It's there's hisses and pops and stuff, but like I like really like weird raw recordings.
Well, I like that it's actually like a crafted. There's verses and choruses. They're actually like tight songs.
Oh yeah,
they're not.
I'm a songwriter.
Yeah,
man.
that's cool.
Yeah, I think there's like a misconception because like I like the emo riff, like the noodle riff with all the pull-offs and hammer.
Sure.
I can't do that. Like, I've never been able to do that.
When did you start playing guitar?
When I was like 13.
Okay, so you've been playing. You just
Yeah.
happened to be playing bass before.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're talking about Snowing?
Yeah.
That was a product of when we were starting it, when Street Smart was breaking up. I really wanted to just sing, and Nate and Ross basically said, no, you'll break a bone. You need to have an instrument.
5 people is so many.
What's up?
5 people is so many for a band.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's start.
Okay, go back. Yeah.
Let's go to was Street Smart your first like real band that you were doing?
Well, I did a band in high school that was like not real. I mean, we never played outside of Lehigh Valley. But we played all the time, so that was like it was like a pop punk band. It was called Audio Recording Club.
Did you record?
Yeah, we did. We recorded one record that took like 3 years to finish.
Is it on the internet anywhere?
Yeah, it's on Spotify. I didn't put it there.
What's it called?
It's Audio Recording Club.
Okay, I've never heard of that ever.
Oh yeah, it's like straight up pop punk.
Okay,
Like,
I'll take it. I want to hear it.
when I was in high school and like middle school, like I really loved just like. I mean, Brand New was like my favorite band, and like I loved like them and Taking Back Sunday and like a bunch of like
we're the same age, so it's like the
totally.
Pop punk was the
thing.
that was like the certain really
Yeah.
popular thing.
Yeah, and I started a band with some kids from another school, and like we just had this pop punk band.
But nobody that eventually started Street Smart.
No. These were all different people.
Okay, so that finishes. Then what is?
Well,
how do you
actually,
get
I mean,
into Street
at the same time, I'm friends with Dave Geating, who played drums in Street Smart, and his older brother John, who's I'd say like 2 years older than us. Mm-hmm. So when you're like 15 and he's like, well, he was probably like 18 when we were 15. So that's like
another class, like we were just talking about before we started.
Yeah, he was like just like an adult in I think everybody's eyes. And him and Dave had been jamming with some other people on just basically just the song Hoods Up. They had like one recording, and they loved, like, I remember going over to their house, and like all they would listen to was like 90s screamo and Jade Tree stuff. And that was like the only bond we had. Was like I was like also into some Jade Tree stuff. Like I like The Promise Ring and I like Pedro, and
yeah, I loved that in high school.
yeah. But they liked the deep shit. Like they liked. I never got super into screamo, so I don't know. But like I know, like they were really into Funeral Diner, and they were really into like Joshua Fit for Battle and like bands like that. So, but John and Dave had basically started like a band similar to Cap and Jazz, and at least that was definitely the intent. And like at first they recorded a song and it went nowhere apparently, and then like 6 months later they were like, oh yeah, we're gonna revisit it. And I remember being outside of an audio recording club show, pop punk band, with John Geeting, and him being like, did you ever think about playing in another band? And I was like, yeah, but I really want to sing. I don't want to play anything. I just want to sing. And he was like, oh, okay. And like just stopped the conversation. Like he did, like, it was like, oh, I said the wrong thing. And then like a week later, he called me and was like, we would actually really like you to sing in this band. And I was like, okay, cool.
How did you convince them? If you're a younger guy.
I didn't. They just asked me. I don't know. I actually don't know why they asked me to sing in the band at all.
Did you sing in your other band?
Yeah.
Okay, so you had some kind of credibility.
Yeah, but I mean, like nothing.
A different genre and everything. Yeah.
Different genre, different. Like, I don't know, and especially because I just remember talking to John and him being like so discouraged when I said I just wanted to sing. That I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to be in whatever he's trying to do. But by that point, they had already recruited my friend Ross, who was then in Snowing, to play guitar, and like two other guys. It was a big band. When it started, it was 6 people.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
3 guitarists? Oh,
3 guitarists,
wow.
but also like never practicing. So like the one guitar player, Kevin, I'm totally just going to call him out. He's in a band now called Super Unison with JR, who played drums in Snowing, and also Megan, who sang in Punch. He would just like show up to practice and not have a single guitar part written, and would just like play whatever he wanted. Like that was the third guitar.
Yeah.
And on the recording, on the demo, it worked out great because his parts are so cool. But like it was just clearly like, come on, Kevin, you don't know what you're doing. What are you doing here? Like we did not need a third guitar player.
Yeah, so he drops and it becomes a more real thing.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, and I think the funny thing about Street Smart is it never really was a real thing in my eyes.
It seems like a lot of people like it. I'm not
totally
super familiar with it, but I know that it's internet famous in a kind of way.
No, I mean, and I remember when it was happening, I would like we kept getting like more and more people were talking about us.
Okay.
And we weren't doing anything, and I was just really confused by that. I was like, what?
You recorded though.
Yeah.
You got a bunch of recordings.
Well, we have 7 songs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's
it. Looked like a bunch of little, maybe because they were individually released. Okay.
Yeah. Exactly. So, but we put up 3 songs on MySpace, and I just remember like the hits kept like growing and growing, and I was like, what is happening? This is weird, because we would play primarily like maybe like a couple times a month.
What year is this again?
Oh, I don't even remember. This would have been. Give me a second.
You're out of high school.
Yes.
In MySpace, it would have been like around 2005.
Probably like 2006 or 7.
Okay.
I think.
So it's not even, MySpace isn't even new at that point.
No. MySpace isn't new. But MySpace, like banned MySpace pages were like the new hot shit. Like everyone stopped using websites like mp3.com, and they moved over to MySpace.
I remember that.
Oh man, that broke my heart when that happened. But anyway, yeah. At most we were doing like a couple shows a month, and Ross and I lived in Kutztown, which is where we went to school, which is like, I'm gonna say like a half hour west of Allentown. Nate, who played bass, lived in the Lehigh Valley, like the Allentown, Easton, Bethlehem area. And then John and Dave both lived in New York City. And Kevin, the third guitar player, lived in Philadelphia, here. Wow. We were really spread out. Shows were a nightmare. I can't tell you how many times the Geating grandparents perished because they'd be late, like, to a show, and they'd call the promoter and be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, our grandparents passed away." like so shitty. And so, but like we were all, it was always like us coming from different directions, and like.
But it took off.
Ish.
Huh.
We did one tour when I was in the band. Tour went fine. We played somewhere in Virginia. Where did we play?
Richmond?
No.
Nova? Probably somewhere in Northern Virginia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was there. The video's online. The whole set. It was a random spot. This kid Chase booked the show.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I want to look. I'll look it up. I bet I've been there. That type of music was really big in a little pocket of time, I think. But
yeah. Go ahead.
Did you have this idea, like, that was the very tail end of that scene? And in my head, I was into that kind of music, and it wasn't even like a thought that anybody outside of like my friends that I hung out with would even listen to this. I guess it's crazy now because everybody's so connected, but I just didn't even know that other people liked that at all.
Well, I think that's why. I mean, that's initially what brought us, like the five of us together, or I guess the six of us together, because it was like we were all friends. It was like, oh, we all like this. Like we all liked Cap and Jazz, and we all liked The Promise Ring, and we all liked Braid. It was like, oh, none of our other friends seem to like this stuff. Let's jump on this, you know?
Yeah.
And especially like with Street Smart, when we started, it was very much just like, hey, we like this music. Let's make this music.
Yeah. So did you break up just because everybody was everywhere and all that?
I mean, I quit first because everyone was everywhere and like just couldn't get a handle on it. At no point were we were trying more and more to be a real functioning band without actually doing anything like functioning. Mm-hmm. Like without functioning, we were trying to function more. And it was the type of shit where it was like, you know, we would play a show in Bethlehem, but, you know, someone would have to work, like one of the Geatings would have to work in New York until 5. So it would, like, Ross would drive from Bethlehem to New York to pick them up, to drive them back to Bethlehem, to play the show, to drive them back to New York. It was shit like that, and it was just...
That's crazy.
Yeah, and it just wore on me because, like, we practice once every 6 months. Like, if that, we...
Who wrote the songs?
Everybody.
Really?
Yeah. John was, like, a savant with guitar. Like, he could barely play it, but the stuff he could play was was just, like, remarkable and insane. Like, the only person I know that, like, never learned how to do a power chord, but could just, like, pop off, like, a crazy riff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was kind of like a combo. I probably had the least to do with Street Smart just because I would like get the song sort of at the end and they'd be like, okay, John, sing. And I'd be like, how? I don't understand what you're doing with your instruments. Shit. But then, you know, I figured it out. But yeah, so I quit. And then they were around for like another year, I think, without me.
Oh, really? Are there recordings without you?
No. No, but they were around for a bit, and like Ross and I ended up living together outside of our college town, and so he forgave me for quitting. But there was definitely some beef for a while. But I mean, I stayed friends with everybody, and I was at a bunch of their shows after I quit, and like everything was fine. I just didn't want to be in like a fake band anymore. I wanted to be in like a real functioning thing.
Did you do anything before Snowing?
No.
So how did that start?
Ooh, actually, I played guitar in a Christian rock band for a little bit, which was a nightmare. We won't have to get into that. I tried to write songs that weren't like super just obvious about someone's lord, and I got forced out of the band. But yeah, Snowing happened because Ross... I was actually at Nate's parents' house hanging out with Nate, and Ross had booked most of a Street Smart tour. I think this is now 2008. I'm thinking, wait, yeah, 2008, early 2009.
So time actually went by in between. You didn't just really do much music at all?
Yeah, not really. I couldn't find anyone to play with. Like, I mean, for a while, I wanted to do, like... It's kind of weird. Like, the Bad Heaven record is really, like, something... Like, it's a product. It's, like, something I've wanted to do for a long time, but just couldn't do for one reason or another. Like, couldn't find the people, didn't have the space, didn't know how to play drums. Like,
yeah.
Like, you know, didn't have the members.
Or when you're by yourself, it's hard to keep... It's hard to be that committed, where it's like, it's easy to write 75% of a song that doesn't totally get finished, and you're by yourself, so you don't give a fuck. When you're with other people, it's like, no, let's really finish this. It kind of forces you to do that.
Yeah.
I totally get that.
And also, it took a while, like, I feel like it took a while for the people I was playing with to, like, kind of come around to other music. Like these dudes were, like, committed to emo. like in a way that I often forget.
I get it. I got stuck. It killed me. I mean, I never got too serious about music, but, like, when you're, like, an adolescent, you're just in your little scene, and you don't even realize you care about music. You're so invested in the scene.
Yeah.
It's not until you're slightly older that you realize that's music that is associated with other music and related to it.
Yeah, totally. So that was kind of... I just kind of sat for a while. I did a couple things, like I played bass in a band called Decathlete with some people, like some older friends that I had. That was fun.
Were you in Philly yet by this point?
No, I was still in Kutztown.
Okay.
I was still in college.
Where do you go to college?
Kutztown University. It's in Kutztown, Pennsylvania. It's a farm town, like slightly west of Allentown.
And that's where you were when you started snowing?
Yes.
Okay. Did all the guys go there?
No.
Okay.
Ross and I went there, and Nate and JR were in Philly. Nate was going to UArts at the time, and JR was going to Temple. But we all grew up together. I mean, Nate, Ross, and I had been in Street Smart together.
Yeah.
And then JR was Ross's, like, childhood BMX buddy. So, yeah, Ross had booked this whole Street Smart tour, and after it was like 2-week tour, and then some people stopped returning any of his phone calls or messages within Street Smart, and then it got to the point where he was like, I'm just going to cancel the tour. And I was with Nate at Nate's parents, and I was like, we were both like, yeah, just do it. And so he wrote the band, and he was like, I'm canceling the tour because you guys won't get back to me. And then certain members were just like, oh, good, because I couldn't make it anyway. And it's like, he booked the tour, and you just, like, let him do it and then ghosted him until it was really shitty.
I know that feeling.
Yeah.
You're so young, you don't realize how to be mature, and you don't get it.
Yeah, and we were young. We were definitely young. But that night, we were just like, yeah, we'll just start a band together, like the three of us, me, Nate, and Ross, and that was snowing. And also, then Nate was like, cool, because I've got all these ideas, and picked up the guitar, because he played bass in Street Smart, and he picked up the guitar and was like he was like
awesome.
A wizard. Yeah. And I had no idea. I don't think anyone knew. And it was like, this is insane. Like, he's so talented. It's fucked up. So, yeah, then we like, I think a couple weeks later, we had our first practice, and it was like, all right, cool, we're a band.
How long did you guys... You played for a while. Well, not that long.
It was like 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah, probably closer to 4.
From that first practice to putting out the first EP, how long is that? Like, how seriously were you taking this? It's so weird, because now... What I'm kind of getting at is, like, that is such a scene now. But
yeah.
Back then, it was... Like I said, it wasn't anything. I can't...
No, it wasn't any... You're absolutely right.
Nobody liked that.
Yes.
It was, like, not cool.
Yeah.
And it's funny, it wasn't that long ago, but it feels like a really long time culturally.
Honestly, considering where, like, it is now, like, where, like, quote-unquote emo is now, yeah, it feels like crazy far.
Like, current bands, like, fuck. It was like Pitchfork, really elaborate indie rock.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was it.
Grizzly Bear. That's what I was thinking. Like,
yeah.
That was, like, the cultural, like, thing. Like, super tight.
Yeah. For the record, though, Yellow Room is a great record. That band was good.
Yeah, nothing against them.
No.
It's just funny
Yeah,
because
it's just because you said pitch.
Yeah.
You just said Grizzly Bear, and I really like that record. And that was definitely out when we were starting Snowing. I was
like very, very
yeah,
different vibe, different look, different sound.
Yeah.
Like just so.
yeah, totally. I don't know why. I don't know why Snowing turned out the way it did. Like, at no point were we like, all right, let's do another emo band. Like, that wasn't the conversation.
It was just the momentum from Street Smart, kind of.
Yeah, and I think it was just like, with Nate jumping to guitar, he had so many ideas. It was just like, he was like brimming with ideas. It's like, all right, well, yeah, we'll just do
What
that.
about your parts? Because, not bass, but just your lyrics, you lead Snowing in a different direction. Like, Street Smart is a lot more, Snowing breaks the mold, I feel.
How so?
I don't know, just your persona is a lot different than I think most people's. No?
I don't know.
It's more like difficult. Like, did you feel...
Go ahead.
You got to be more confident or something, right, when you're starting that band?
No, actually. Okay. Here's the thing. In starting Snowing, I had a lot to get off my chest, emotionally, and I just needed to like. Oh, is everything okay?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
I'm just plugging in a second battery.
Oh, okay. The whole thing was, I wanted to be as honest as possible with, especially actually pretty much the entirety of Snowing. That was my goal, because I kind of needed some shit to get out, and that may be I don't know, that may be kind of corny, but I had a lot of feelings and I had a lot of emotions that were either suppressed or not getting sort of the right care that they should have gotten, or from myself specifically. And there was actually just there's a lot I just wanted people to know that, I've had pretty bad depression and anxiety my entire life. So when I didn't feel good, when something hurt, it was I would just sort of sink into myself and I wouldn't let anyone know what was going on. So it was sort of okay, now I'm doing this band, and I think I felt a little more validated because it was just me, Nate, and Ross, and I loved them, and it was it
was a safer space.
It was a safer space for sure. And I was just okay, I'm going to tell everyone exactly what's going on, for better or worse.
What's that like when you have these songs written, you know what they're about, but nobody really knows what your persona is going to be like in this band, this is going to be the first time you do it.
I also I kind of think, if we're looking at it realistically, back then no one gave a shit, so it was it's
really safe.
Yeah, it was just we're just starting a band with friends,
I think it's super interesting because it sounds so obvious, but it's even in this kind of genre or world where quote unquote honesty or reality or whatever that's the whole thing. That's not the thing. Most people they look at the people they like and try to mimic their version of honesty, which is the least honest or real thing you can do.
Yeah, I've never...
I respect you as a songwriter because I think it actually is the thing.
Well, it is. So thank you. And not to say it didn't start in Street Smart, because it certainly did, but or even an audio recording club if you really want to go back. But with Snowing, there was a new level of sort of full disclosure that I was willing to sort of go. But it was terrifying, because even without anyone, even without people being interested, and realistically, when we started, I didn't know if anyone was going to listen to our band or but our first couple of shows, I was a nervous wreck because I thought people would hear the lyrics and feel differently about me, either they were going to like worry about me, or they were going to like, you know, now they were going to try and be invested, or they were just going to be like turned off by the fact that I was like super vulnerable. Like I wasn't sure, but I was fucking horrified. Like the first, I'm going to say like 10 snowing shows. And a couple of them, I just got really drunk. I was just like, oh, fuck this. I can't deal with this anxiety. Like, it got better over time. But, you know, it was just like, it was scary for me. Like, it was odd.
Those first batch of shows, did people care right away?
No. Certain people did. Like, I feel like the right people did. Because right after, it was like our second show, I think, Chris Reject was at it, and his girlfriend at the time came up to me after the set and was like, Chris really likes your band. And I was like, oh, cool. And she was like, he doesn't like anybody's band. And I was like, oh, that's really nice. And then like shortly after that, we started talking to him about putting out the 7-inch, and Chris runs Square of Opposition.
Yeah. He's like famous in that little world.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because of you.
Yeah.
Or at least in my head.
No. That's it. You're welcome, Chris.
I love that.
But yeah, so...
and did people really like... I'm asking all these questions from a real place because I was totally in that scene from 2002 to 2006. Not in Philly, but in Virginia. So related. And then I didn't listen to music for 5 years. And I just quit playing music, and I just...
Why'd that happen?
I don't know. I didn't know it was so much my personality, playing in bands and being a band geek and like being a scenester, and I like what you're saying. I didn't care about the genre anymore, and I didn't know how to make sense of it all, and I don't know why.
Okay.
But it just I didn't get it. I didn't understand what to do, and it just felt like it hurt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I felt like too old for it and just too alienated from it, and
I've been in that situation.
And technology passed by, and like I said, it was dead at that time too. So I felt really sad that everything I liked
was gone.
And
yeah, no, I get that. I've been there.
So now I came back to one of the first records I started liking a lot when I came back to music when I moved to California, because I was looking for like a taste of. I missed home, so I wanted to music and stuff. I listened to the split you guys did with Algernon,
the four-way.
Yeah,
that
was one of the first things and I didn't listen to that until 3 years ago.
Okay.
So I don't know how this
you don't
see.
Okay.
I don't. It's so crazy to me what's happened now, because stuff I liked, we were talking about like the Moth stuff.
Yeah.
That is so niche, but now a little bit that world is like, people think like, oh, that's a classic record. Like teenagers now think that's like a classic record.
That's weird.
But anyway, that's a long way of saying how or when did people care? Did they care right away, or is it just now that it's building? It's obviously building now, but
well, I think we were super lucky in that we were here, like in Philly and in like the surrounding area, because
it's the epicenter, it seems.
It certainly felt like it, because we had Algernon, and we had 1994, and we had like just like bands oozing out of like everywhere, and we had spaces to play, and I think that was a big thing. JR, our drummer, would have shows at his apartment. His apartment was so small, and the room where he would have the shows could barely fit like 20 people and a band. But people would pack in, and you'd have like a show, and it would be a great time. And I think just having that access to it really helped like establish like momentum, you know?
Yeah, because, for sure.
Because then you're playing, and like especially if you're playing like in a city and you're playing a bunch, it's like you're playing a new, like people are coming to see you, and you're getting like some like, the ball just gets rolling. And then back then, I don't know, I'm out of the loop at this point, but like at some point people just started asking us to play like all over the place, and we just like, okay, we can make it work. And we, besides college, none of us really had anything going on, so we would just play wherever people asked, and it was really like very snowbally. It was like, oh yeah, this is
By the time you were writing the full length, did you know that people would care? Like, it was big enough at that point? Okay.
Yeah, by the time, I mean, when we did our first tour, it was like, oh, people care. Like, not a lot of people, but like enough.
Did you make it to California that time?
No.
Not yet, okay.
And then, no, we didn't make it to California until, unfortunately, our last tour. But we did a couple trips that were like pretty much from here to Chicago, down south, and back.
Sure, yeah, okay, yeah.
But I remember like getting to Chicago the first time and being so excited to be in Chicago, and then just like we played sort of a bunk show that no one gave a shit about, and I was like, oh, bummer. And then 6 months later, we played Chicago again, and the place was fucking like completely packed, and everyone was singing along, and it was just like,
it happened.
Oh my god, yeah. Well, even like in Philly, I think we had a show like right after, I think like 3 shows after we recorded and released the EP. And man, to show how different everything was, we just like that EP, like the first EP, the Fuck Your Emotional Bullshit one, we just released it for free, like no label, no nothing, because we were like, we were actually like a couple of us were really into like Bomb the Music Industry, and we were just like, oh, Jeff releases everything for free, it seems to work well for him, let's just give people this music. And I feel like that's so removed from anything an emo band would do in 2016.
Yeah, I found the reason I listened to it first is it was free, and I didn't have to. That's being super broke. I was looking through Bandcamp, and I don't know. Yeah, that is funny.
Yeah, so we were just like, yeah, let's put this out, and like hopefully people listen to it, and this will give them a chance to like it, you know. But it's just like on their iPod, showing again how old we are. But like a couple shows after we released it, we played in Philly at JR's apartment, and like the tiny room was packed, and it was packed full of people singing along, and it was just like people I didn't know. It wasn't friends, it was like strangers singing like every word to Snowing songs, and I was just like, holy shit, it's working. Like it was just like, oh my god.
So what about writing the full length then at that point, when you know this really confessional, real stuff people are actually going to hear?
It was hard. It was really hard. It took me a long time, especially like, I mean, it took us a long time to write the full length, and while we were doing it, like, I feel like relations within the band were getting worse and worse. So that didn't help. And then on top of it, like, I had so much pressure on myself to write these lyrics to it that would like I wanted to like almost like outdo myself from before. So I was like, I basically like would write most of the song and then would drive around and sing it like we'd have a practice recording, and I would,
of course I remember doing that.
Sure. And I would just like drive in my car and like sing along to it and be like, I don't know if this works, and like start over and sing it again, and start over and sing it again, and then like ditch the whole thing. And it just so happened I was working at a movie theater at the time as a projectionist, so I could just like, once the movies start, you just sit there and like ponder life. So I would just sit and like work and work and work.
That's how that works?
Yeah.
For the entire length of the movie?
Yeah. Especially now that it's digital, you really don't need, like, actual film reels are a rarity anymore.
Yeah.
I'm probably even more now, because I'm talking like we're 2009, like 2008, 2009. That's when I worked there.
Yeah.
We had 1 or 2 films at a time, and the rest was all digital. And it's pretty much like the whole theater in like a 16 screen theater is run by a computer. So as long as the right things are happening, like as long as it's sort of like a checklist. It's like, okay, the first, the trailers are coming on, so the lights dim the first time, and
why not just play and leave and go start another movie?
Well, that's the thing. Like, you wait and you just like make sure that it's essentially, you make sure the computer does its job and like does everything it's supposed to do, and then you walk to the next theater and make sure it was kind of a joke.
So you're sitting up there watching the computer and writing this full length.
Just like stressing the fuck out. I remember there was actually There's one trip I came up to Philly for like practice, and I had to drive.
Oh, you're not even in Philly yet?
No, we're still in. Ross and I still live in Kutztown. We're still in college. Like, yeah. So we would, we would drive up once a week. So it's like a 2-hour drive. So I would drive to Ross's apartment, get in his car, and then we'd go to Philly. We'd have band practice, drive back, go to school. Ross and I, up until this year, never lived in Philly. I lived here briefly twice, like 6 months and 6 months. And then Ross just lived in Lehigh Valley his entire life until he recently got a job in Philly. And I think he's been living here for like, I don't know, 6 months now. But
eventually you write the songs, though.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We write the songs. But yeah, I mean, by the time the recording of the full length itself is like a nightmare. Like, I think everything.
What do you mean?
Well, we don't have a lot of money, but we want it to sound good.
Where do you record it?
We recorded at the Headroom, which is Joe from Algernon Studio.
Okay. He deserves a lot of credit for Philly stuff, right? It seems like he records a lot of bands.
I mean, the Headroom, for sure. Him and Kyle recorded a bunch of us because it was just like, our friends have a studio,
Yeah.
Like, let's take advantage of it. And they would give us, they would give everyone the Super Bro discount.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm from DC, and all those bands, they all recorded in the same studio, and that...
Yeah, having that is such a huge
You
thing.
need it. You need a couple houses that'll have shows.
Yep.
You need a couple people that'll give you a hookup on studio time.
Yep.
It's that simple that people just need a little bit of a leg up to say, like, what you're doing, I'll help you out.
Yeah.
That makes, I don't know, the best...
No,
I'm convinced my theory is, like, the best art has never been made because so few people get that little hug.
Yeah.
It's a bummer. But anyway, I mean, okay, so it happens.
Yeah, I mean, but by the time we recorded the full length, there was just a lot of things go wrong. Like, we kind of wanted like a more polished sounding record. Joe asked,
whenever you go to the studio, you have a couple records where you're like, this is what I want to sound like.
I honestly,
you don't remember?
I couldn't even tell you. Oh my goodness. I just knew I wanted it to, I knew it had to be good. We were at that point. We were totally at the, this has to be good point.
You put a lot of pressure on yourself.
Yeah. But then we did things that totally like looking back, it's like obviously just, if we did it this way instead, like it would have been great. Like we were a great live band. We sounded like, I always thought we sounded like fucking, like we were like a powerhouse when we played together, like the four of us. So of course we recorded it all, we tracked it all separately.
Yeah.
To the point where like...
to a click?
To a click that JR did not rehearse to.
Yeah, because you don't write to a click.
We don't write...
It's like, so, no, this bridge speeds up. You don't realize it. And now things that like just felt right. I totally know that feeling.
And then there would be points where it was like, well, actually, I went in to do bass, and I'd been playing these bass parts the way I'd been playing them since we started writing, and Joe took like, it was just me and Joe, and he took like one listen to what I was playing, and he was like, that doesn't work. I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, dude. So then he basically made me rewrite all these bass parts, for better or worse. I'm actually not sure. I'm pretty sure like I just reverted back to how I played them before, but it was like, so that was stressful. That was like an added thing, and then it would just be times where like no one was there when Nate recorded guitar. So then we'd go in and we'd hear Nate's guitar, and it'd be like, why did he pick that tone? And then we'd have like this conversation from like the phone, like, hey, could you maybe redo that? Or like same with like Ross would do something, it'd be like, why did you do that? And it's like, well, no one was there to even listen to it. It was just Ross and Joe. So a lot of that happened.
And just, it's so funny to me how you don't have the dedicated time that you need.
No, we didn't. We all had school and work. Like,
yeah, it's hilarious.
Like we were like, and especially then, I mean, we were just, everyone was either in college or fresh out of college. So we were broke. Like by no means. Like now I could take like a couple personal days and like work on the bulk of a record with like a group of friends that probably also have a couple personal days, and like,
yeah,
we didn't have that luxury. Like I think
You don't realize also that
Yeah.
you need to do that.
Yeah.
You don't realize that it has to be
Cohe-
planned.
Well, it has to be cohesive.
Yeah.
And I think that was the problem with this. The problem with the full length was there was just no cohesion. Like, it was just all like, okay, you do that, and then I'll come in and I'll do this, and then someone will do something, and then hopefully it'll be good. And then,
Did it drag on and on the recording
oh
process?
yeah, it did.
Yeah,
And
that's
then-
always hard.
And then luckily, I actually just found this out a couple months ago. Joe did all the mixing with iPod headphones. So, like, not even real, like, not even like what we're wearing. Like,
Yeah.
just earbuds. So it really just didn't turn out the way we wanted it to.
But the thing is, why it's so good and why it will be one of those bookmarks in time is because of that. And the people that, the 23-year-olds now who are in this scene that's like so much more spotlight is on them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it sounds like soulless and I don't know.
Well, I mean,
I love that it has that story. That's really funny.
well, I'm glad. I guess you're right. I mean, like, that first Mineral record sounds like shit. Like, Power of Failing.
Totally. I mean, all of punk music is like that.
Yeah, you're
There's
right.
very few like end hits by
Crisp.
Fugazi that
Yeah.
are like, they're perfect punk, they're perfect songs,
Well,
they're
even-
perfect recording.
Yeah. Well, even then, I mean, they were fucking Fugazi, and like that was their live.
Yeah.
Like,
And that's their like 7th record.
yeah. My goal for Snowing, at the end of everything, was essentially to become like a Fugazi. No one's a Fugazi, but like just the type of like the band is life, and like
Yeah.
like a self-sustaining like powerhouse. Like,
Yeah.
Just like an entity to itself. You know.
Yeah.
That was the goal.
But what's it like when it's mixed on headphones? It took forever. It was a nightmare.
I mean, you're happy that it's done. Oh, and
Yeah.
also then there was problems with the art, and there was
Yeah,
like,
tell me the story. It's an iconic.
okay, wait,
Let's take a stop. Do you want another beer?
sure.
Okay, I'll get another beer. I'll put new batteries in.
I just unplugged it and plugged it back
okay.
in. Yeah, I don't know why. Oop,
Okay, we're good.
check. Okay, good. Anyway, what were we discussing?
Fuck, what we were just saying. I already drank too much. Oh, the album. The album art.
Oh, the album art. Yeah. You wanted to know about what
The
specific?
photo.
Oh, the front cover.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I guess it's related to the EP too, right?
is it?
Well, is it the same cat?
Was there a cat on the EP?
Maybe not.
There was a cat. No, the EP had.
Oh, that's a hand drawing.
Yeah, and that's on the Street Smart. No. I don't even... Dude, okay. Full disclosure, I don't know anything about records. I don't collect records. I don't own records. I own a couple.
Yeah.
But, so whenever, like, decisions like...
The art and stuff.
no, art was fine. Art I'm cool with. But, like, things like... What's going to be on the center label? I'd just be like, what color vinyl? I'm just like, I don't give a shit. Just go do it.
Yeah.
Like, somebody else worry about this.
The cover of the full length is great though.
Cover of the full length. My girlfriend at the time, Melissa, who is one of my very good friends now, she was a photo major at Temple, at Tyler School of Art, and that was all these photos were just like she just took like this roll of film. This one weekend, like we had this pretty great setup where I was working 4 days a week in Allentown. 10 hours a day, and then I would get out of work on my last day, and I would drive right to Philly, and I would spend my whole weekend at Melissa's house. And Melissa lived with Sam, who was holding the cat, and also Dave, two guys I currently live with actually. But they had this great house in like North.
Sorry, we're back. We were talking about. Okay, Melissa was taking a photo.
I mean, she took like a bunch of photos that weekend. And there was just.
I always thought it was a photo of you.
That's not me.
Yeah.
No, that's Sam Rudich. He's we unfortunately immortalized him in song, in name alone. But yeah, that was the house cat. That was Leonard, and she just took all these great photos one weekend that were just like us hanging out. Like the back covers from the same weekend, and we chose that one because Phil, Sam's older brother, who's also just like one of my best friends, was also in it, and we were just like, all right, yeah, Phil's there, it's great. Plus, it shows Ross and I playing video games in the backyard. But we would just buy beer and like hang out, and at that point I had like a bunch of spending money, and I just felt like a king because I was like, I wasn't really paying rent, I was living at home, I had this good job. Well, it was like, in hindsight, it was a horrible job, but like...
What was that now?
I was a direct support staff at a group home for teenage boys with behavioral disabilities. It was very intense, and it's definitely the type of thing where it's like they hire whoever they can because it's an intense job that no one wants to do.
Yeah.
And
what were you doing?
Just like, you know, the boys get home from school and they gotta make dinner and clean their rooms and do what they're supposed to do and like take their meds and like just...
You were in charge of making sure they took their meds? I
was in charge of all that shit, yeah.
Oh, wow. How many people?
At the top, there were 7 in the house. But...
They lived there?
Yeah, it was their home. It's basically like if you have like behavioral problems as a kid, you like go away. Like if you're like setting things on fire and like punching your grandparents and shit like that, like they're going to send you to sort of like a mental spot for youth. And this was the group home that was supposed to help them transition back.
Okay.
Like they had a lot of group therapy with their parents to discuss like...
How old were they?
Between 13 and 19.
Okay. Did you study like psychology?
No.
Okay, so this is just found a job.
I just needed a job. Okay. Yeah, I was.
That's a tough job.
It was really heavy, and especially because I know now that, I mean, I was very deeply depressed for a long time, and that's a really hard job to do, and it's a really, really hard job to do when you're really depressed. So, like, if you like go and like
because you see yourself in some of their
problems. Not even just that, but like, you know, if you're like your life is essentially trying to make these people's lives okay, and everything around you is preventing you from doing that, including like the infrastructure of how their entire lives are run.
Yeah.
And you know, if you're prone to depression, you'll just eventually sink into the hole. And then it's like, well, now I'm in a hole and I got to help you guys.
Yeah. You don't feel like you're the qualified person.
Not even a little bit. Like
sometimes I think, I don't know.
So it was super difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just really...
Okay, but you have money from that job.
Yeah.
That's kind of a real grown-up person's job.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I had money, so I'd like come to Philly and just like take care of the house. Like I would buy them groceries and like take Melissa out for like meals and like just whatever they needed, like I was good for. I would buy like cases of beer and like, and we just had like a really good thing going for a while where it was like fun, you know?
Yeah, real life hasn't totally crushed everybody yet.
Not even a little bit, yeah. And we haven't like rebounded to realize like how to like make life work.
Yeah.
So it's just
what happens when their full length comes out?
Well, JR quits or gets kicked out, depending on. I think we rectified it where it's like it was a mutual decision.
He plays on the record, though.
He plays on the record. We end up breaking up with him after a show in Maryland, and Brian joins the band, Bean, and we play a lot. I mean, like things theoretically are good. We play a bunch. We go on a big tour.
People like the record.
People like the record. We actually, so we put it up for free again, and this time we wanted to do it on a like sort of our own server, or we didn't want to do it like on like a website or anything. And this was pre-Bandcamp, so we got our friend who was like web savvy to like make us a website that people could download the record off.
Really? What was the URL?
Snowingtheband.com. And within like a couple hours the URL crashed because it got too many hits. So it was like we knew we were doing good.
But you didn't want to put it on iTunes.
It didn't even why.
Not a political thing, or just you didn't even.
Well, why?
Okay.
Yeah, no, I didn't. We didn't care. That's kind of the thing that like.
No, I get it. I'm with you. I didn't do it, but
Yeah. No, I mean, and the thing that interested us was like I kind of said, like my main goal for Snowing was, we had Chris put out the vinyl of that record, but for future stuff, like I wanted to start our own label. Like I wanted us to be like fully self-sustained.
Oh, when you were talking about like the Fugazi thing, like.
Yeah, I really.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I wanted to go all in. Like,
so what happened?
well, we got sick of each other. Like,
so it was just personal friend stuff.
yeah, I mean, it got to the point where like some of us, like, just when you're doing stuff like that for so long, conflicts build, and if you don't, we were still young,
Yeah.
So if you don't know how to like talk to each other,
it's hard for me to relate because my issue. I was only in really shitty small bands. My issues were always like, why can't we be in a band that people like? So it's hard for me to understand a band that's like killing it. It's hard for me to understand why.
Yeah, but I mean, like at the end of the day, killing it or not, I mean, like everybody had a day job. Like everybody had girlfriends.
Yeah.
And
it's not like you're making money out of that.
there was no money.
Yeah.
Like it was very much like. Everyone's got their entire life to deal with, and then they also have this enormous other thing that they have to deal with as well. And, like artistic shit came into it where it was like, I got really sick of not being able to like write songs because, there's sort of like, well, if we're writing songs, it seemed like for a bit there was like, well, it needs to be twinkly, like there needs to be riffs and like weird tunings, and it's like I've always just been very straightforward, so it was like, okay, well, I got kind of sick of that. And like,
did you write any of the music, or was it like Street Smart where you were given the song and then
it was different because I was playing bass, so it was a lot of, I really helped arrange everything.
Yeah, okay.
Like, and that was sort of the thing, like when we were starting, I was like, I want this band to have songs. I don't want it to be like, it's a lot of emo bands, if you listen to it, it's like, well, here's a part, and then that part ends, and then it's like, oh, here's the second part, and then that part ends, and then there's the third part, and the song's over. It's
or it's like the same changes the whole time.
Yeah.
It's like digital music, kind of.
Yeah. I want it like verses and choruses. I want it like so, like, Ross and Nate would come in with riffs, and we would like build the song together to make something that made sense.
Yeah.
And also like something that I could sing to. Like there were a lot of times where I was like, we need to play this 4 times so that I can sing a verse over it.
Yeah.
Guys. Like shit like that. But yeah, no, it got to the point where, and just other stuff, like artistic stuff, like members weren't happy with each other, and like communication wasn't good because we were young, and we did a big tour, like our first full U.S. tour. It was us, and it got really quiet in here.
This entire episode is gonna have its own soundtrack.
It's gonna be awesome. But it was us and Algernon and 1994, all on the same tour, 6 weeks, all in the same van.
Okay, that was gonna be my first question.
Yeah.
How many people is that?
Well, 4 of us. 4 plus 3 is 7, plus 2 is 9. Plus we had, when we started the tour, we had Mike Bell with us, and then I think someone else. I don't even remember.
So 10 or 11 people.
10 or 11 people, and then Chris Reject met up with us in Texas.
Like in a Econo van?
No, this was... I mean, we got a 15-passenger, but dude, you put that many people in a 15-passenger plus luggage, you're not...
Yeah.
You're
Did you have a
scraping.
U-Haul or anything?
We did. We had
Okay.
a trailer, because everyone had records and, like, gear.
Sure.
And
What kind of venues were you playing? How did you set it all up?
I had very little to do with it, but pretty much, like... We played the place that was, like the big, not legit venue in every city. So, like, that's the tour we played, Che Cafe. Not saying that Che Cafe isn't legit. It's certainly legit, but, like...
It's completely independent.
Yeah.
Though. Yeah.
And that's the type of place we were playing. It was, like...
Did people come out, though?
Yeah. It was awesome. Like...
The shows.
The shows were great.
Where did you sleep? Just whoever set it up?
Yeah, I mean, 6 weeks. It varies. We stayed in a lot of houses. I often opted to sleep in the van because
I'm that guy too.
Yeah, because I'm also like, I talked to Nate about this tour recently, and it's 100% why we broke up, like pretty much. And like, not only did we break up after, but like 1994 pretty much stopped playing, and Algernon shortly thereafter broke up as well. But like, everyone was so tense because you're just spending so much time with like all these other people, and you can't even like break away, to like go. Like, my entire like van life became like get in the van, put on the Mountain Goats, and like fall asleep because I just didn't. That was like my only alone time. Just like napping in the van.
Yeah. Totally.
So there's just, some of the best times like I've ever had, and also some of the worst times I've ever had were both on that tour. But by the end of it, like, relationships were certainly strained.
Best show on that tour?
Ooh. We played, now I guess now it's like fucking shitty because all this stuff has come out about it. But we played Gilman Street, and it was sold out. And it was fucking insane. Granted, an up-and-coming Joyce Manor also played that show. But, like, so we weren't, like, the reason it sold out or anything. But it was just, like, really great to play, like, this, cool...
Far away, too.
Far away, cool, iconic venue that, and it was, like, it was sold out.
Had you ever been that far before?
No.
I'd never been to I'd never left Virginia, really.
I had never been to California.
Okay.
I'd never seen... Our first day in California was in San Diego, and we went to the beach, and I remember just, like, looking... Like, because I've lived so close to the Atlantic Ocean my whole life that it's not remarkable.
It's so different.
Yeah.
I love it still.
Just looking at the Pacific Ocean, I was, like, flabbergasted.
And California, you can just drive to the beach and hang out.
Yeah.
And just park. It's not like, oh, this is $45 to park 3 blocks away.
Yeah, you're, like, right there.
What's the worst show on that tour?
It depends on how...
Or just worst day? Breakdowns?
We got pulled over because of weed in going into California. That was kind of scary. You
got pulled over because of weed, or you got pulled over and was scared because you had weed?
We got pulled over because Tank, the drummer of Algernon, ate. Like, we were coming up to a checkpoint. We made through a checkpoint. We came up to a second checkpoint, and Tank had weed on him. He was
those weird... it's like border control.
Yeah. And Tank was like, fuck this, and like stuffed all the weed he had in his mouth and ate it.
They wouldn't have checked you probably anyway.
No,
if people don't know, around California, they have all these border patrol checkpoints, and it's scary because there's dogs, and there's guys with guns, and they come up, and most of the time they just see you and wave you on.
Yeah. So Tank ate the weed, and it made our entire van smell like weed, and one of the dogs freaked out. And we got pulled out of the van, and then we're sitting on the side of the road with like guys with AK-47s just like guarding us so we don't run.
But you don't have drugs at this point, right?
No, we don't. But it was still just like... But no, they were bad. I mean, we played Portland, and like everyone in the van had a fallout with each other, and there was like... We got back to where we were staying that night, and a lot of us were pretty inebriated and like just like yelling at each other, but also really drunk, so it was just like embarrassing. And then we also played just like...
What are you fighting about? Just, I'm sick of like, I don't want to listen to this anymore, or...
Yeah, just
I mean, not too personal, but...
No, just like certain personalities clashing.
Okay.
Between bands, like not even all. This wasn't all inter-band stuff.
Yeah, that's a lot of people.
It was, like the big thing that night was someone from one of the other bands was making fun of someone in my band, and I was like
you're protective because that's like your
yeah. But I was also like hammered. So then I was like, yeah, you don't do that. And like then their response was like, nobody tells me what to do. And then I go in the next room and it's like that member is like, I'm going home. I'm buying a plane ticket right now. I'm going the fuck home. I'm out. I quit. This is stupid. I'm done. And it was actually really funny because he was like, I'm sick of being treated like shit. Like, so-and-so's outside making fun of me right now. I was like, no, they're not. And like the window was open and we just stopped talking and so-and-so was like, and the thing about that fucking guy, it's like, oh my God. Like everything was kind of coming to a head.
Yeah.
But I mean, we also played shows, like we played Jackson, Mississippi, which everyone there was super nice, but there were also only like 7 of them. So all 7 of them were great.
It's like no money you spend. Yeah.
So
when you quit, so you decide to quit like
snowing?
Yeah.
No,
do you think
it was like everything.
Or when everybody decides
yeah.
that it's over. Do you think I'm going to keep doing this, or is it?
Yeah.
For me, I realized I didn't realize it till it was too late. Like, oh yeah, I'm like an old guy now.
Yeah, I mean, at the time I was only 25, so I was still like, oh, I can do stuff. Like and Ross and I started playing together right away. And initially, Ross wanted myself, Bean, and Ross to just start a new band, like the 3 of us. But Brian wasn't interested because he was at this point living fully in Baltimore. He moved to Baltimore with his partner, and Baltimore is like from here is like it's like a 2-hour drive.
Too
it's
far
like,
away.
Yeah, so and that was kind of, he was like, I'll come to play, like if we're still doing snowing, I'll do it, but like I'm not starting a new band. That's stupid. So like Ross and I had this idea, we were starting this band and we played a little bit together and it just fell apart after a while. I think we just like ran out of steam because we couldn't find other members. And Nate joined Glockamora right away. Do you know that band?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit like you where I'm attached to certain genres, but I'm not like one of those people that know all the coolest bands in the genre.
Gotcha. Well, Nate was busy. He had things to do. So yeah, it took a while to like get anything else going, because I didn't realize, like when we broke up snowing, it was like absolutely 100% the healthiest thing to do for all of us. We were like so burnt out on each other. It took a long time for any of us to talk to each other normally again.
I know that exact, yeah.
And it was also getting hard because like I was like falling out with the whole emo thing was changing. Like
it was becoming what it is now,
yeah.
Which is like kind of the cool kid. Well, this is a weird thing. I don't know. As an older 30, 29-year-old, it feels like kind of the cool kid thing to do instead of like the weirdo.
Yeah, I mean,
not cool kid thing to do.
It was also like we did a tour early with like some prominent people now in the emo thing, and they were like, yeah, we got a booking agent, like I got a booking agent, I got a manager, like here's my card. And it's just like,
whoa, yeah,
it's just like, why? I don't like, it was like a foreign language. It was like, what are you doing? This isn't.
Are you against that, or that's just scary to you? I'm wondering.
I mean,
in my head, I come from a world where like, fuck that.
That's
maybe now I wouldn't be, but as a younger guy, I definitely would have been.
I was, like I said, like I'll harken back to it again. I really wanted snowing to be a independent entity. Like I want it to be, because like all my favorite bands at the time were like all my favorite bands that were in punk at least were like did shit like that. Were just like they were just outside of like the like business shit. If I was gonna do business, I wanted to do it with my friends, or I want to do it myself. Like I didn't want a boss, and I didn't want like contracts, and I didn't want any of that shit. We at one point we were gonna do like we got asked to do a split or not a split. We got asked to do a 7-inch on like a cool label now that like a lot of people like, and like if they asked me to do a 7-inch now, I'd be like, yes, of course, why not? That'd be great. But like at the time, it was like no, and we sent them an email back that was like, no, we don't want to be on any label. And also, I mean, it's good. It's important to mention that like on that big tour that we did with Algernon in 1994 had just released a record with Chris, so it was like in-house. It was like friends shit. And then Algernon just put out their second record themselves on a label that they started because they didn't want to deal with labels. It was like, and we booked the whole tour ourselves. There was no tour manager or tour person, booking agent. That's what I was looking for. And it's like nothing against those things, but like that's the world we came from. It was like you did everything yourself because that's how it worked.
No, I think that comes through though. It's hard to explain, but the reasons people like those bands so much, it's just they like their own perspective, your own kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, is that right when you went to Portland?
No.
Let's try to get us to present day.
Oh, Jesus. We have a lot of...
Oh, really? A lot?
No,
really?
no, not... I mean... So... I'll give you the real quick version of post-snowing to now.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was thinking about it. Go ahead. What were you
No, good. I'm glad I already completely... Yeah.
You had forgotten.
I already drank too much.
I apologize for that. Yeah. So, Sewing breaks up November 2011. I am completely scared out of my mind. At the time, I was back in school to get my teaching certification to be an English teacher. I completely freak out. I drop out of school in January.
You're just like a regular dude at this point. You're
Yeah.
not in a band. You're
No.
not. Do you think like fuck music?
No. I think music's the only thing I'm good at, and I'm terrified of not having it.
Yeah.
So, completely based on fear, I started a band with my friend Chris, who was in 1994 in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, which is from here like an hour and a half west. Him and I are both in the same situation where we're like, fuck, our bands are done, and we're freaked out, so we start this band. I quit school. I moved to Lancaster. The band immediately falls apart.
I thought you were going to say Slow Worm Death, a different thing
Nope,
completely.
completely different.
That never happened.
Yeah, completely different. That never happened. All the Slow Worm Death stuff by this point has already been written, and I already wrote it off because I was like, no one wants to play this with me. I'm fucked. So
Because it's not like the scene you're associated with.
So I just put it in a trunk, and I was like, okay, I love this stuff, but I'll never get the chance to do it. So I moved, like I said, I moved to Lancaster. It doesn't work out. I moved to Philly. I live with my sister, who's living with her boyfriend at the time. And as soon as I get there, like she's like, yeah, come stay. This will be great. And as soon as I get there, I realize they're like on their last legs, and they are like breaking up right before my eyes. So,
And you're in the other, like the second bedroom.
yeah. So we live in Philly. I live in Philly for about 5 months until Jill and her boyfriend at the time completely end it, and she's like, "We got to leave." Like,
What are you doing though? You don't have a job?
No, I have a job. I'm working for a company doing one-on-one with people that have developmental disabilities, working in their homes. This one's different though. I mean, like before it was like behavioral, so it's like a lot of anger and like a lot of like psychotic disorders. This one was like people on the autism scale. So just like essentially helping people.
A coincidence that you have found jobs helping people that are troubled?
No.
It's funny because you said you didn't feel like you were in a position to help troubled people, and
I absolutely
you're
was
in
not
a position again.
Yeah, because I got in that position because I had a friend that did it, and he knew I did the job before it.
Okay.
And he was like, "I can get you a job doing this," and I was like,
It's on your resume, your first job.
I need a job, yeah. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I was still, because still, like, the heaviness of that job wears on you, and if you're not doing well yourself, like, mentally, it just wears on you more and more. So, by the time my sister had to move out, I was totally fine with leaving that behind. I had, like, burnt myself out. So, I moved back to my mom's house in Catasauqua, Pennsylvania, right outside of Allentown. I worked for a year I worked for 16 months as a temporary employee at a seminary in Bethlehem. Seminaries where people go to become pastors. It was like a liberal seminary, which was really weird.
A church that you
No.
had any association with?
Not at all. I just went to the temp agency, signed up, and that's where they put me, and I was there for 16 months. During that entire time...
Living with your mom.
Well, first with my mom, and then I moved in with Chris Reject, and I lived with him in Bethlehem. But during that whole time was when Slower and Beth was happening. So I would basically, on like I'd say once a week, I would work a full day, and then get in my car and drive immediately to New York City, play a Slower and Beth show or have practice, and then get back in my car and drive home and go to work the next morning.
What were you doing at the seminary?
I was an administrative guy.
Okay.
Just pushing paper.
Okay.
You know? So I worked there for 16 months until they were hiring for the position.
What about your social life? In that town, that sounds... Do you know people there? Where your mom's town?
I knew... Yeah, I mean, I knew other townies because I was a townie.
Okay.
I hated it, and I was miserable. And going to New York for Slower and Death stuff was great because it was like I had a whole separate life, you know?
Yeah, I did the same thing. It's funny.
But then at the same time, I couldn't adjust. Like, I couldn't get comfortable in New York City or anywhere. I was also at this time sinking further and further into depression. So, the seminary doesn't hire me when they finally hire for the position. I tour. I go to Fest with Slingshot Dakota, and then I do some touring with some other bands just for fun. It's just like in the van because I didn't have a job and it didn't fucking matter. And I decided to move to Portland. I moved to Portland for 6 months. I work at a bank. This is now 2014. I work at a bank for 6 months. One day I'm fed up. The entire time I live on a couch or on a blow-up mattress in my hippie friend's tiny living room.
And you've had kind of like pretty tight-laced corporate jobs. Not corporate jobs, but
yeah, no,
it doesn't seem like a job totally friendly for a band dude.
Definitely white collar.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I work there, back end at a bank for 6 months until I get like completely burnt out, and I quit and I move home.
Did you ever get totally comfortable in that new town?
No, I hate it.
I mean, I get
No.
obviously not comfortable. Like, did you know people?
I knew Sean and Kelly, my roommates. I knew them from back here, and they had moved out there. And then I met a few people. Actually, I have two good friends that I made in Portland that I still have to this day that are like wonderful people and I love dearly. But yeah, not a lot at all. I couldn't gel with the people out there. I also, again, this is all building up to something. So
okay,
I move home. I figure once again I'm going to dedicate myself fully to music. I try and do a solo thing. I play a lot of solo shows. I put out a record that's just very depressing.
That came out under your name.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do a tour by myself in winter of 2015, like 2014, 2015, where it's like me and my sedan driving through snowstorms by myself. I am at this point like pretty much like after from Portland, from leaving Portland, getting back home until like a point, I'd realized that like my depression wasn't going anywhere, and I was just trying to continuously run from it with all these different things. And at this point, I want to die. There's like nothing else. Like, I want to kill myself. It's over. I'm done. So I'm trying to do this music thing because it's the only thing I know. And I eventually get burnt out again. And my friend Melissa, who I've talked about before, is moving out of the house up the street that I live in right now. And she's like, do you know anyone that needs a room? And I was like, I will totally move in. Like, just let me move in. Because I needed something different. And once I got here, this was May of last year, and I lived here for like a month, and the depression started to come back. I realized I had nowhere else to go. Like, I was like out of options. So it was either like die or like get help. So I spent 5 months in intensive therapy every day after work.
You found somebody?
I found a program through my my brother's wife was a nurse in Philly at the time, and she talked to some people, and they were like, have him go to this place, they'll help him. It's like a comprehensive thing, like psychiatrists and psychologists. And I went in and I did like an intake meeting, and they were like, you need to go to the hospital, like you're like more at risk than you think you are. And I was like, I had no idea. So I went through 5 months of therapy, and now it's 2016, and I'm like, it's like night and day. Like, I'm like medicated, life is good, things are like wonderful. So yeah, that's where I am now.
What clicked?
Ooh,
And
I missed something.
yeah.
In between then, after the first solo record and the first solo tour, Top Shelf were nice enough to give me some money to record a full length that I was then going to tour on a bunch, and I recorded the whole record. And
The Bad Heaven record.
no, this was a different record. And I recorded a full length.
The acoustic.
No, this was
Oh, a different thing, completely.
After the acoustic one, I recorded a whole record and completely ditched the entire thing. And because I was just so not with myself. I was just so out of it.
So what happened to that? Just completely
It's just,
gone?
Yeah, it's just somewhere. But even like, I mean, it was weird because all these it was like these poppy songs, but I was like, I mean, it was all about wanting to die, and there was no like end song where it was like, and things are good now. It was just like I would listen to the record and be like, it just ends, and it's just like, that's really heartbreaking. But it was very much like, this is how I feel right now. Like, things are really bad.
Yeah.
So...
Or like, I'm not a person that people should be listening to, right? I can relate to that.
It's like I literally...
When I talked about falling out of music a little bit, I can, maybe not as extreme, but just, I'm not any kind of authority to be saying a single word right now. Nobody should be listening to me.
Yeah. No, exactly. There were songs specifically where it's like, it was like very clear that I was like talking about wanting to die, and I was like, I don't feel comfortable like having mass people hearing this, not because it's not true, because it's 100% true. It's just I don't want them to.
That's not a healthy thing to put out in the world. Yeah.
And it wasn't like, it was in no means, it would have been it wasn't helpful for anything. It was just like,
yeah.
I just, so
it loses artistic merit at that point too. It's like, is this for you, or is this solely only for me at this point? You know? Yeah.
So yeah, I completely ditched it, and I didn't talk to Kevin or Seth for like months and months. Pretty much burnt that bridge at the time. It has now been rebuilt. Things are fine. But yeah, yeah.
What was it? Well, what? I guess.
What clicked?
Yeah, what clicked?
With, I don't know. I think, you know what it was? It was having depression for so long, and having knowing there was something that I couldn't control about it, knowing that it wasn't just like lighten up kind of shit, like, oh, just lighten up, and having conversations with my family who also experience it, who also have depression. It's like, it runs in my family, and having them be like, pretty much telling me like, yeah, we have it too. Oh, we also don't know what to do, kind of shit. Like, just like,
yeah.
So then to go to a doctor, and that doctor be like, hey, you've got this thing, and with a lot of hard work we can make it better. Just hearing someone be like, because I was often just told, like, growing up, like, you're fine, you're just a little sad, but you're fine, this is just how you are. It's like, no, I don't think it is. I don't think this is how life works. And just have to go and have someone be like, you have major depression, like, we can take care of it, like, we can make you feel better. That was enough. I was just like, okay, I'll do whatever I need to do, just let's do it. And yeah, I stuck with it. I did the whole thing, and like I said, I now in 2016, I stopped the program in December of 2015, so it's almost been a year, and this has been the happiest I've ever been. like I'm like a normal person now, ish. Like I'm still really not, but
That's great, man.
but I can just like I can function now, and like, you know, I can like hold a job, and I don't feel the need to run from everything, and I don't feel the big thing about what killed me with these emo bands, especially like Snowing, as we got bigger and bigger, is like I needed other people's approval to feel good about myself. I needed it because I couldn't do it myself. I couldn't feel good for myself, and that's something I learned going through this program. Where it was like I've found self-worth, so I don't like it's like I don't need this like consistent like
thumbs up.
Yeah. I can just be myself now, which is something I could never do before without feeling guilty about it. Like now I can just like I can just be me.
Do you feel more creative now?
No, well, I mean,
I wonder, as somebody whose work is defined by that previously.
I'm actually kind of curious, because I mean I wrote some of the Bad Heaven record I wrote pretty much all of it while I was going through the therapy thing, if not like 3 or 4 songs before, like 4 songs before. But like I recorded the whole thing after I had gone through all the therapy, so I like everything you hear is like stuff that I did after.
Yeah, I think
it's okay.
I was just talking to Brian about it, who you met. I was saying it's a really positive and hopeful thing, and he was saying the opposite. And I guess it's both kind of in there.
Yeah, I mean it's sprinkled in both, but I don't think I wouldn't have been able to record. I wouldn't have been able to finish it, or like even do it, even start it if I wasn't
just the word
mentally
ethic.
well. Yeah,
I can relate to that.
So, I mean, it's I'm always writing songs. So
will you do another Bad Heaven record, or are you going to jump? Yeah. Are you going to tour on it?
I hope to. I mean, it's like I never want to do things that aren't natural, you know. Yeah. So if like people want to see me play Bad Heaven songs, I will certainly do that. But like if no one, you know, if the Bad Heaven record's just sort of a thing that like happened and no one really cares, like that's fine. I'm really happy it's out. I love it. Like it's like the record I've wanted to make like for years. And when I listen to it, I'm like, it's weird. Like I like, even though it's mine, like I'm listening to it and I like follow the like sort of where it goes, like the ups and downs of it. And I'm like, I'm like very thrilled with how it came out.
Yeah. Are you working are you working a full-time job now? Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I work at the University of Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Again, paper pushing, but like,
yeah.
I've been working there now I was temping for like 9 months, and then in February I got hired on by a contingent at Wharton, and it's just been like, it's been great.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
What about, so is art and music going to be a part of? Because I'm in the same situation. I moved out. I got a job as temp. I'm doing it full time. It's a corporate. It's not anything to do with me. It pays the bills. It's whatever. I got a plane ticket to Philly. That's cool.
Yeah.
But it kills me to be there every day. And I'm trying to do other stuff.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing about my job is I like it. And I like the people I work with. And my friend, my roommate, Sam, put it a good way. He said, like, I never come home from work and complain about work.
Yeah, that's a good place to be.
Yeah, and it's not like, it's not perfect. It's not like, it's not, you know, it's not by any means like a dream job, but it's something that I'm just happy at enough. You know, I'm comfortable there. Yeah. And I'm supported, and that's important. Yeah. So that's good.
Yeah, for sure.
So
most people cannot say that.
I know, like, and I'm happy that
people cannot.
I'm happy that I'm not one of those right now, because a lot of my life I've worked jobs I've really, really hated. So I mean, my whole thing with everything, with music, is like, I want everything to happen naturally. Like, if people want to see shit, they'll request it to happen enough that it'll happen, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not... I think that was the difference, like, when I was doing solo stuff. I was very much like working with people who I was like, help me do this. Like, help me get out in front of people so I can do this. So I don't have to get a job, or so I don't have to like, basically so I don't have to deal with my problems.
Yeah.
And now it's like, it's the exact opposite. It's like, it's really the way Snowing was, where it was like, you know, we've made it. Let's let other people decide if it's worth something.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I feel like I'm definitely in a bad time because there's so much stuff out and there's so many bands that like it's definitely a hindrance. But like at the end of the day, for me, I'm just really happy that I got this record done. And like I said,
I think it's great, man. I really think it's very good. Yeah.
Thank you. And like I said earlier, like it's something I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to do like a home recording. I've always wanted to record myself. I've always wanted to do like a full solo record that like is like a realized thing. And
Sure.
this is all those things.
Yeah.
And I'm just like thrilled by it. And it's also very much me. Like a lot of the songs are really short because I have a very short attention span.
Yeah.
And you know, it's not the most hopeful record, but I was pulling from a lot of experiences that I had sort of before therapy, you know, before my life got better.
Yeah, that shit sticks with you for a while.
Yeah. And even a lot of them, it was like, this is the first time I ever did a record where I was writing more creatively. Like I was like inventing scenarios that I could see myself going down.
Oh, yeah. It wasn't completely literal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the songs were, but like other ones weren't. But it was, you know, it's like, you know, seeing. We've been watching a lot of Rick and Morty at the house, and they talk a lot about like multiverses and like just different universes and like how there's, you know, millions of just like you.
Different timelines.
Yeah. So I was just like thinking of different timeline versions of myself. Like, well, if I was in this timeline, like I very well could have gotten hooked on heroin. Like if I was in this timeline, I could have very well, you know, been more of a stumbling drunk. Like if I was in this timeline, like stuff like that. And I was kind of working with that with the record.
Well, maybe we should end it on that. I'm going to pee in my pants, I think, if I keep going. We didn't even get to home movies and cartoons. I wish that would have came up earlier.
Wait.
But,
we could... Maybe you should go pee and we can talk about... No, we should end it.
Maybe next time.
Maybe next time.
In the pauses, I'll have transition music. I'll put... we were just listening to Wizard's Baker earlier.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I was like... Were we over this?
Oh, no. Earlier today. Yeah. I'll cut that. That'll be the transition. Thank you so much, John. It was great to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you, Nick.
Okay, bye.